trying to get my nose to stop breathing into the thing.
Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Nah, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts. Today is May 4th, almost May 5th. So may the 4th be with you, and then Cinco de Mayo it up. Back-to-back kind of holidays. This is episode 181.
Holidays?
Well, I mean,
Come
Cinco de
on.
Mayo is a holiday. And
Cinco de Drinko is not a holiday.
yeah, I mean, it's
Everybody's Cinco de Drinkos every day around here.
well, that's true.
Come on.
But they don't Cinco de Drinko Don Julio every day. At least I don't.
You're a special kind of guy.
Is yummy. So that's what I'm drinking. To know drop time spirits tonight, boys. Unless you get some tequila over there for the holiday. Cinco de Drinko, as Greg says.
You must have polished off the bottle.
I've had that for a couple of years now. It just sits up there for a year until Cinco de
No,
Mayo.
I'm saying the drop tine. I don't see it anywhere.
Oh, they're all downstairs. I had a bonfire on Saturday night, brought everything down for a half a minute. But yeah, hey, we're coming at you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio. Go ahead and check out okayesthunter.com. Use code W2H podcast for 10% off. I've been seeing a lot of folks redeem that code, so that's great. Good to know that you hear us and you want to save money. You want to save money on your car insurance, listen to a different podcast. But if you want to save money on some coffee, you can check out backwoodsgrind.com. Use code W2H podcast. Again, 10% off. I'm trying their sunrise blend
And?
next month.
Oh, next month.
I get the whole bean because I'm going to grind it up myself. I know they grind it for you and it comes real fresh, but I like to really have it as fresh as possible each and every morning. So I'm all about that whole bean life. You like that grinded stuff.
It's convenient. I crawl my butt out of bed. I build a pot of coffee and I jump in the shower.
You build a pot of coffee?
That's right.
All right.
I'm special like that.
Yeah, I'm like a coffee snob. I'm like a little shit about it. I put in like the French press and whatever.
You get pretty fancy with
You gotta
it.
grind it coarsely, otherwise it doesn't work right. You don't get all the flavor. Do it right, man. It makes a difference. Tastes good. Nice.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah. Anyway,
You drink it with your pinky out too?
only on Sunday mornings. Don't ask me why.
I knew you were a pinky guy.
Oh gosh. Hey, and our call-in line, which is live. If anybody wants to call in and talk turkey with us tonight, we're gonna be talking with Chris Whitley, who's got all sorts of calls we're gonna be diving into. But if you want to call in, the call line is brought to you by Spartan Forge. Also, our live video chat, the technology that we're using is also brought to you by Spartan Forge because they're a technology company and they're blazing the trail on deer movement predictability. They are working their asses off right now and getting their app ready for the App Store with a whole bunch of new features. So if you haven't heard us say it already, get over there and subscribe so you can save some money before the price hikes up. And if you want to save money on whatever the price ends up being by the time you get over there, you can use code W2H for 20% off. I think 20 in Starbucks language is a venti. I
Could
wouldn't
be.
know. I drink Backwoods Grind.
I stay away from that place.
My wife has like an obscene amount of Starbucks gift cards from being a teacher. Like I'm talking like a couple $100 or something that she
That's
just
a
banked
lot.
up. So
It's a lot of sugary drinks.
yeah, and we never go. So it's like for a near one, we'll like, let's get a Starbucks, because she's got the thing, but I don't pay for it.
That's nice.
That is nice. So that's nice. Tell me about your turkey.
I shot one. It's bagged up and put in the freezer. The fan is all stretched out and boraxed and cleaned up real nice. Took the oil gland out of it and cleaned all the meat off the tail. It should make a nice mount.
Really? So you're gonna mount it? It's good enough to mount?
Yeah.
Really? What makes it good enough to mount? I don't know anything about this turkey business.
What makes it good enough to mount? Well, it's not all shot full of holes. It's got nice colors to it, and the feathers are in decent shape. I was going to use it for my decoy, but I figured, well, It's too nice of a fan to use for the decoy. I'll doctor up the one
You
I
put
have.
the beard on there too and the shotgun shell, or what?
Yeah, for now the beard's sitting in the shotgun shell up on the shelf, and I'll once that fan has a chance to dry out from the borax doing its thing, a couple weeks, I should be able to plaque it.
You should do a video on that. I'm surprised you didn't.
I kind of did a sort of one after the fact. I got one more chance to kill another turkey, so maybe I'll put together a video.
That's something I would
honestly,
I would
you can
YouTube that.
it.
I don't know how to do it,
but you could YouTube it.
Sure.
And there's a ton of videos on YouTube, so I don't know why people would want to watch me do it when there's like 1,100 of them on there already.
Because you got the heart of a teacher. Tell me what happened. How did you get the bird? Like what? You called, he came, you shot, he died?
Wrong.
Yeah, I know.
No, not even close. Every tom that I saw, I started last Wednesday, opening morning, had an awesome tom come rolling through. He maybe got 150, 200 yards to me.
Okay.
Huge bird, big beard on him, but he didn't want to close the distance. I'd call, he'd pick his head up, he'd look right at my decoys, he'd fluff up. There was another hen not far away from him. Drop his feathers down, go walk towards that hen. Call at him again, pick his head up, look right at my decoys, fluff his feathers up again, and do his little dance. Put his head down, act like he's feeding, and then pick his head up and look again. And then he just decided to wander off. He didn't want to come over and play. So had to work Thursday. Friday morning, went out, didn't see any birds. Heard them gobbling, but didn't see any birds. But it was really windy, and it had dropped down temperature. Saturday morning, went out, saw another nice tom, but again, he didn't want to play. He got as close as 100 yards and saw another hen out in the field and decided, well, that live hen looks better than those two fake hens next to that strutting Jake decoy. So another one that made his way out the door, and I went Sunday. Typically, most of the birds, the toms were moving through by 7:30 in the morning. 7:30 in the morning came and went. My buddy Derek, he messaged me before 7:30. He had gotten a bird.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got quiet. I didn't hear any more gobbling. So I'm like, well, it's 8:15. I haven't seen anything other than a couple of hens. I had two hens come right into the decoys and hang out for about 20 minutes and then move off. I kind of spied the whole area with my binos and checked it all out just to make sure nothing else was popping through. And I'm going to take a walk. I need to take a walk because I couldn't feel my legs anymore from sitting. So took a walk probably about 300 yards away and just kind of made a loop through this little patch of timber where I'd heard birds gobbling. And somebody actually shot one Sunday morning too back there. Came back, and just as I was kind of cresting the hill to be able to see my decoys, I could see these two fans dancing around my decoy, and my decoy spinning around, and there's dust flying everywhere. I'm going, oh man, I totally missed out on that opportunity because I had my camera there all set up on the tripod. I could have got video of it, but instead I decided to get up and walk because
you're an okayest hunter.
Yeah, I'm not great. So I snuck up to the fence line, got within about 40 yards, and waited for them birds to separate. Took the shot, sent that one tumbling backwards. His buddy decided, well, maybe I want to join on this too, and tried pounding on that bird as he's flopping around. And then I just kind of ran up and kind of waved my arms, and he went, oh.
Snapped out of it.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. And then he took off and run.
Yeah.
So, but that was pretty much it. The decoy took the brunt of most of the
it looked pretty beat
activity.
Up.
So, oh
well, congrats, dude.
Yeah.
You got some good food. I love it.
Better be lucky than
Cheers
good.
to that. All right. Hey, on the line with us today, we have Chris Whitley. Welcome, Chris. He is with, let me get it right, Get Outdoors Today, which is where you're going to find him on TikTok. And if you want to find him on Instagram, which is probably a little less content there, Whitley's Whitetail Pursuit. And Chris, man, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Thanks for the invite. I'm doing great. I love the turkey story. That was awesome. But yeah, like I said, just appreciate you guys inviting me on. I love talking anything to do hunting. Sorry for the Southern accent. I'm from North Carolina here, so it is strong.
We like it, man. It's awesome. Well,
I do a lot of public land hunting in Ohio, and it's funny. I go into a cafe there, and first of all, I order sweet tea, and I get the headlight look like, "What is sweet tea?" And then they look at me and say, "You're not from around here, are you?" So they pick up on the accent really quick up there. So
I dig the accent. I think it's pretty cool. I got a buddy down in Arkansas. His accent's not as thick as yours, but he has a lot of Southern like quips that he'll say that I find really hilarious. But your accent's thicker. It's a cool accent, man. I wish I don't know. I kind of wish I had a cool accent like that. We're just stuck up here with this Wisconsin accent. I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you, Canadian now?
Basically.
No.
Well, okay. I just real quick to kind of set the frame as to, I found you on TikTok because you're putting out so much content. It's super quick hitting, but it's insanely practical. And that's for deer hunting and turkey hunting. And talk about how you kind of fell into this stuff, man.
Is exactly it. I mean, so I was on a duck hunting trip with some buddies, and we're in the hotel hunt, and they're just sharing videos and just rolling, just laughing at everything. I said, "What are you guys looking at?" And they said, about a year ago or so, and they said, "It's TikTok, man." I thought, TikTok? What in the world? I said, "I thought that was for like we get on the singing stuff." They said, "No, TikTok's way more than that." So I download the app, and of course, they're on TikTok. I'm just like everybody else. I'm looking at videos, commenting on stuff, and I don't know. One day I just decided to post a video of my dog of anything, and just I had a couple of little fishing videos that really took off. You get a couple, a couple hundred views, and you think, all right, I'm doing really good. And then one day I'm in my basement, I'm fletching arrows, and I thought, if I watch 2 videos on YouTube, I get a 30-minute video with 5 minutes worth of content that I'm really interested in, and then a lot of it's about just talking about the person doing the thing. I thought, what if I could dumb this stuff down to about a minute limit that we get on TikTok? And I said, just it's quick hitting, but very informational. So I did my first hunting related video about fletching arrows. And that was even the intro. I was like, this is fletching arrow TikTok style. A lot of corny stuff. But anyway, I post that and it just, boom, it took off. And then I started getting questions, how do you do this with bow hunting? What's your bow? What arrows do you use? All kind of stuff. And I just enjoyed that feedback so much. And so I went from, fletching arrows to lighted nocks to just how I shoot bows like that. And just the more stuff I put out, it just seemed like it ballooned. And people would ask me, what do you do in this situation? Or what trees? So we started talking about public land, and I started talking about, and that's really when my stuff just exploded. When I started showing what tree stands I used, how I packed them. I hung my tree stands, pros and cons of different tree stands, and it just took off. And really, it's been driven by comments that I'm getting from people. Can you show me this? Can you show me that? And I transitioned from the deer. I did a little bit of duck hunting stuff, but I'm relatively new in duck hunting myself. But then into turkey season, man, it just took off because, I love turkey hunting. I've done a lot of calling. I entered my first competition this year, talk about that. And it's just so many questions about hunting in general. And what really kept me going, because it takes a lot of these videos and cut them down. But I get these kids on here asking me, I don't have anybody to show me how to do, have anybody to show me how to do that. Talk to me about it. And I show it, and it's just the feedback has been amazing on it. So with it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I came across your stuff when it was tree stand stuff, and I was like, because of the quantity you're putting out, but the quality also. So not take away from that. I was like, see it, but then like the repetition, see it again, see it again, see it. I was like, okay, oh shit, this is like really good. This is great. I think I sent some to Greg like a while back. Like, hey, did you see how this guy does this with the sticks? I did a video of sticks, but it was not a how-to or a tutorial. It was me like getting frustrated that I couldn't stack them because I'm an unorganized idiot. So it's a different style video.
Okayest hunter stuff.
I'm watching this stuff. I'm like, this is like super practical. So then obviously I dive down the rabbit hole of everything you have going on, and it's just also great. So it's very clear you're taking the feedback from people watching, and if it's younger people trying to get into the space, like, dude, I want to commend you in such a major way for that, because that's a bridge that it's really hard to gap or bridge that gap. Really hard gap to bridge. I said that backwards. Classic. Yeah.
So point across.
But what's your background with hunting? Like, how long you been hunting? Tell the audience where you're from. What do you love to hunt? And it sounds like you hunt some public land, so that's awesome. That's what we're all about.
Yep. I came from a long line of hunters. My grandpa built a cabin in the mountains, bought some land, built a cabin, and my great grandpa to my grandpa to my dad, and then on to me. Everything focused around hunting. My dad and my uncle and my grandpa all had a business. They owned their own booming and stuff. So during the winter, things would slow down, and they would they own their business. They could take off as much as they want. My grandpa would go to the mountains and spend the entire month of November. So I was introduced to it from an early age. I've got pictures of me just barely able to walk with a little plastic bow in my hand when my dad would bring a deer home, and they pretend like I'm shooting this. So, and like I said, I got eat up with it. I loved deer hunting was my first passion. And I didn't think anything would take the, that crown of deer hunting until I got into turkey hunting. And I got into turkey hunting probably when I was in high school. I did a little bit before high school, but when I guess that was my biggest regret in life. I quit fall sports. I absolutely love playing football, but hunting was a bigger passion. So I quit when I got my license, because after school I was headed to the woods. So and then in the springtime, turkey hunting, I don't know. It took off. I loved it. And I'm somebody that my wife, if I get into a hobby, I don't just dabble in it. When I get into it, I am full bore. I got to get, it just takes over. So, and it doesn't matter. When I switch from season, it's deer season. It's everything about deer season. Duck hunting, it's everything about duck hunting, and it just keeps carrying on. So yeah, say it's an obsession would be an understatement. I really had to put it in check when I started having kids, because I didn't want to miss out on kids' baseball games and things like that. So toned it down just a little bit when the kids, but they're getting to that hunting age now. They're wanting to get in the woods, so now it just gives me another excuse to dive right full steam. So, but yeah, my hunting is here in the mountains of North Carolina, western part of the state. We're in the foothills, so we're not at the peak of the mountain, but we're not in the flatland either. So we're in between. It can be some tough terrain as far as turkey hunting and stuff. We're in mountains. I've learned and developed a style, and I talk about that in a lot of my TikTok live videos. How I've adapted to that style. I really want to do some kind of what I call flatland hunting. I want to get on some flatland, big open territory and stuff where, decoys was a little bit more prevalent. Like you were telling the story about the decoy, the bird you got. But yeah, I'll talk myself into corners here, but yeah, like I said, that the mountains of North Carolina, we're not known for the biggest bucks. We kill a big buck here, here and there, but, me and my dad and my buddy get after some big deer, and we decided, if we're going to do this, we need to go to Ohio. So that's where we start Ohio public land. I've done Ohio public land now for probably 10 to 12 years. I said, when I got into my Ohio public land, I went into it full bore. And I called anybody and everybody that I knew that Ohio. That's where I kind of got an area to start at. I called wildlife managers. I ordered topo maps. I got on Google Earth and would spend hours looking at Google Earth. And I studied these maps and just the phone conversation I had. And it was funny because I put X's on this topo map of places I just wanted to scout. And so me and my dad head up to Ohio, and we scout this land. I go to these X's. I decide, I'm going to hang my stand. And the day I'm in Ohio, and when we go back for the deer season, I kill my best buck with a bow on the first morning, actually, second day, but first morning we got to hunt. I killed the best buck. And it's not what people go to Ohio for. It was a 100-inch 8-pointer, but it was the first time I broke 100 inches with a bow. and I mean, I was on top of the moon. And so that lit the fire for Ohio, and we've not missed a year since. So I'm still looking for that Ohio Giant. Murphy's Law kicks in when the moon gets in front of me. I practice my bow. I think I can shoot a bow just about as good as anybody, but put that big buck in front of me and the wheels fall off the bus. And so it just things happen. But I tell people I am the best person for you to hunt with, because everybody I go hunting with, it seems like I put them on the biggest buck they've ever killed. I put my dad on the biggest buck he's ever killed.
You good? Uh-oh, it got muted.
Oh no.
We'll stand by for just a sec here. Oh, you're still muted. I wonder what happened. What the heck? I think he's going to pop back on. Dude, that's freaking incredible. Getting submersed into deer hunting, going all in on Ohio. The way his approach is like pretty cool. I like that he got 100-inch 8-pointer, and that was enough for him, and he's happy about it and has no shame in that, because he shouldn't. That's freaking great.
Oh, you shouldn't have shame in anything you want to shoot. If it gets you excited, just shoot it.
Exactly. Well, hold on. Let's just stand by here for a second and see if I'm assuming he's going to jump right back in. I know he said his battery was kind of low, but I
Wonder if his phone died.
I thought maybe he had it plugged in. I'm just going to see if I can message him here through something.
Or email him.
Yeah, I was doing that. Man, technology, man, never fails. There's always something going on.
Battery life.
He's trying to get back in. He said he got booted. Let's see if I can send him another link. Hold on here. Let's see if we can do this. Copy. I'll get one right back to you. In fact, I'll put it in the chat right here in our live broadcast feed. There you
go. See me now?
We got you back. Yes, sir. I don't know what happened
back.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem, man. It's technology.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we almost always have problems, so it's no big deal. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Darn it! Get a message over here, so we can hear you. You can't.
So you can hear me?
Us.
I can't hear you guys for some reason. No, I can't hear you.
Darn.
No one's on mute. I don't see anything wonky going on. Let me try this.
Yep. He's gonna sign
So I
off.
can try
How's
and
that?
okay.
Can you hear us? Now? No. So we can
I'm gonna
still
blame
hear
this on
you.
my hunting buddy, because I was just getting ready to tell him a story and he called in on my phone and it just completely kicked me out.
Well, darn.
You send him a new link. Well, if you send him a new link, then I'm gonna have to relink.
I tell you what, since you guys can't hear me, I'm gonna try and jump on my computer and see if you guys can hear me there.
Sounds good. We'll shoot the breeze for a minute. So I'll just see if you can jump back in that way. Darn. Stupid technology. This platform's pretty good, but it's got its quirks every now and again. Something like a call comes in and it boots you out or whatever, so I'll have to edit all this out. But what we're going to get into here, folks, once he comes back in, is some calling, because he's got a whole slew of calls on his side, and we're going to get Greg to do his owl call.
No pressure.
There's like one person watching by the time we get back.
Yeah,
So
nobody will
you'll
be watching. It'll be fine.
He'll be fine. But they'll listen to it in podcast land. So,
yeah,
either way. Let's see. It looks like he's getting on his computer to jump back in. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it works. Imagine it will. I'm hopeful that it will. Still not audio. Darn. We can hear you.
Yep, we can hear everything.
Can't hear us. I wonder what that would be. I don't know how to fix that. Can Can you check settings? Maybe. Should be good. No audio. Want me to come back and leave? Try that.
What a pain.
Classic mix-up. Technology. Go ahead with technology. Mic is on. So yeah, it looks like it should be good. I mean, so we can hear you, but can't hear.
You logged off.
Not sure what that would be. I think seems like it's working fine. You can't hear us. What would that be? I think it looks like there's still one person watching on Facebook. I assume you can hear us. Maybe if you want to chime in, whoever you are, let us know if you can hear us. I think that might help. Let's see. I heard a sound. Where did it go? Come on. Come back. I heard that make that fun little like someone's here sound, but I don't
Right.
see 'em. It's kind of weird.
You need to download the Jeopardy song.
No doubt.
Put it on there.
How's that, buddy? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
There we are.
So sorry.
No worry. We'll edit all that out, so it's all good. It's just for the one person that was watching us, they're probably like, Jesus Christ, you guys, because that happens a lot.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I had my
Technology.
phone where it was not supposed to. It's not supposed to interrupt me or anything. And the I was getting ready to tell you guys about called in, and it completely chaos on my end. So since we
Don't worry.
don't have anybody in here right now, how do I get on online? Get a link to my phone. Through my phone.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to go online through your computer, I think that's what you're asking. You should have a link in your email that I sent you. So if you have an email, you should have an email message from me with a link to join.
Yeah, let's do that. Got you.
Then we can toggle that one on and then this one off. See how that does.
Okay. It's going to take me just a second. We got a brand new computer here, and I don't have my email account. This one just yet. So,
It's a pain to switch. It's exciting to take a new computer, and you're like,
can
oh
you
yeah,
shoot me
to like
the,
redo it. Yeah, where do you want me to send it to?
Do you have a? I think what? Yeah, send it to CHRIS Kendra KDRA 17.
You type that in the chat, and I'll just copy and paste it.
That'll work.
Do you want to just type that in the chat? Yeah, then I'll just copy and paste.
I was telling you guys about a big buck walks in front of me, how Murphy's Law kicks in. You guys are starting to see it firsthand. This is kind of what happens when a big deer comes in front of me. The wheels fall off the bus. So,
It happens to me all too often. I missed a nice one this year, or this last season, I guess. But I don't know why. The wheels didn't feel like they came off, but they must have. All right, I just sent an email over to you with the link, so let me know if you get that. Should come through in just a moment. that come through for you?
Came through on my phone. Everything comes through my just picked up on my phone. So let me.
There we go. Cool. So that means a minute. All right, good to go.
There we go.
Yeah. Once,
So where did I get cut off on the Ohio story? I think.
good question.
You were able to get through the fact that you got a 100-inch buck.
Yeah, like I said.
For like 10 years, I think. And
So,
then, yeah.
Yep. I've been up. We've started. Went to Ohio. I fell in love with that. My dad almost got out of hunting for a while, and when he got back, when I talked him into going to Ohio, relit the fire for him. He absolutely loved going to Ohio. Just that you just never know what may walk out in front of you. Just a completely different style of hunting. When we go up there in the mountains of North Carolina here, deer are they're not very responsive to calling. So grunting or anything. In my lifetime, I may have grunted in a handful of deer in Carolina. To where the first deer I saw in Ohio, the first buck I saw in Ohio, I grunted and the thing nearly climbed a high wall to get to me. And I thought, what's that TV? And then the very next year we went back to Ohio. Kind of the same thing. I had a decent 11-pointer come in, 115-inch deer, which was exciting for me. And again, he's 100 yards off. I grab a grunt call, grunt, and he turns on, just a beat, just straight dead under the tree stand. So just completely different style of hunting I was used to. So we fell in love with it. Again, started getting into some bigger deer after 4 or 5 years. We really fine-tuned the area we went back to. I've had the opportunity. I blew it on about 150 to 160-inch deer, but I put my dad on a spot. I do a lot of scouting, and I do a lot of the prep work for me and my hunting buddies. And so I put my dad in an area where he killed 142-inch, I think, 11-point. I put my buddy on 2 different bucks, one that just went over 140 and then a 133-inch deer, which public land, and from North Carolina, we are absolutely loving this. So, my big taken's 122-inch 8-pointer up there. So, and that's huge for me and what I'm used to here in the mountains. In the mountains of North Carolina, if we get a 100-inch to really 110 to 120-inch deer is a really, really big deer around here. So, like I said, that's just and that public land trip is just that I don't know, it just rekindled the fire. Completely different style hunting, and I absolutely love it. I'm actually going to do some TikTok stuff about kind of the prep work that I prepare for those trips. I've had a lot of work with that stuff, kind of the map. So to put some stuff like that together. But that was kind of the backstory on my deer hunting. I started off in North Carolina, advanced to Ohio and out of state hunting, Kentucky actually. So I'm going to give Kentucky a try.
In addition to Ohio?
This may be the first year I would addition to, but these hunters that say their wife supports them 100% in deer hunting, but with my obsession into hunting and all that I do, the Ohio, we may have to pump the brakes on Ohio this year. I had a really neat opportunity come through on some private land in Kentucky. It's 1,100 acres. It's going to be 8 guys to get. That's over 100 acres per person. Supposed to be some really good hunting. So I'm probably going to focus. It's a long-term lease, but we're not tied in long-term. The guy that had main lease has it for several years, and he told us we can go year by year if we want to. If we want it back the year after, then we can do it. So we all decided, let's if we love it, we'll come back to Kentucky, and if we don't, then we're 100% confident in what we can do in Iowa. So
Awesome.
The problem with Ohio,
cool.
I guess, that we've seen in Ohio is the first year we went to Ohio, we could pretty much, I mean, I had, just third, fourth, and fifth options, as far as areas that I'd scouted and stuff. And especially after going so many years, we've kind of looked at a lot of different spots. So I feel like I've got spots to back, I can fall back on if somebody's in my spot or something's wrong in that area. But man, the last few years, the hunting public, absolutely love those guys. But the hunting public, if you go back and watch their YouTube series, like 3 years ago, I think their YouTube series on Ohio, I'm hunting the exact same land that those guys are hunting. And man, it absolutely exploded after those guys were there. I didn't realize it, but the intro to that Ohio for the hunting public, they do the intro right in front of McDonald's that is right beside the hotel we stay at, and they do the intro there. And there's actually points in that video that I can actually take you to those points because they're hunting the exact same area. And this year we went back and I couldn't hunt my number one location that we have done so good in. There were guys in that spot, and then the last 2 days we got to go in there and hunt that. We had a really slow year, which was really hot in Ohio during November when we went last year. But with those last 2 days, those guys left. We went in there, we pushed way back, and I wound up seeing 3 rack bucks that are over 120 inches. Didn't get a shot at any of them, but I put eyes on 3 that were over 120 inches. So again, that's kind of our target range when we're public land hunting, 130 inch deer. Anything over that's just icing on the cake kind of thing. So,
it's a great perspective.
But hunting public land it's got so popular that it's getting, even when you try and lighten your load and push way back in these spots, it's getting hard to get away from the public, I guess. So
I've heard that from other people about where those guys go, it starts to just balloon up in their aftermath. I wonder if that's something that they'll ever address. I think they try to do a good job of like not disclosing where they're at. Whitetail adrenaline's the same. Those guys get on a spot and people flock to it. Everyone tries to like dissect it's like someone holding a fish up. It's like, what dock is that? What house is that in the background? You got to like cover all this stuff up and be secretive. Otherwise it blows up. But when it blows up, there's an opportunity to then do some more exploration and scouting and try to like disperse yourself into something else. Because if you're a good hunter, you're not going to go where all the people are. You're going to try to find another spot, right? It's kind of an awkward thing.
Yep.
To some degree. I know Greg's really secretive about his spots.
That's what made it tough. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, it's all good.
And that's what made it so tough on us this year. We had a couple spots to fall back on, and we saw deer, saw some smaller bucks while we were exploring some new areas. Actually, I walked up on probably 140 inch deer, and just a little twig saved life. Like I said, Murphy's Law kicks in when the big one. I've learned in Ohio, if you're outing, you better have a bow in hand if you're walking through the woods, because there's been 3 different occasions that I've been scouting and walked up on a really nice buck within bow range on this buck. One time or 2 of the occasions I'd already tagged out and I was walking with a buddy and he hunts with a cross. And I told him, I said, you need to be ready. I said, because, you walk up on these deer up here, it's just different. The deer do not seem as skittish in Ohio as what I encounter in North Carolina. And last year we walked up on the biggest buck I've ever laid eyes on. I've never seen one. I mean, I would be afraid to say what that deer scored. Long tines. I mean, he had it all. But I walked up, I was scouting an area, walked into this little opening. I heard a deer jump, and what I found was a buck and a doe bedded, and the doe went one way and the buck jumped up, and I mean, perfect lane, but there's just this little twig in between me and him, and I come to full draw and I'm trying to lean out around that limb, and before I can clear the limb, he takes off. All I can see is that white tail running. So but other than that, it made it really tough because it was so super hot when we were up there that week in Ohio last year, that the deer movement was just so incredibly slow. And that's just what told us how special that spot that I've got is, because when we got those 2 days to go back in, laying eyes on 3 rack bucks after we'd spent a week hunting different locations and nobody really laid eyes on a decent deer. When I jumped, when I was walking in, I mean, it's a special spot what we found in Ohio, but it's really hard to get back to. There's some really steep terrain and a long walk back into it. And that was one of the appeals to Kentucky on the private land, because my dad's getting older and he wants to get out there and do it. But he told me, he said, Bud, I'm gonna have to find some spots that's easier to get to because I can't get back in those spots anymore. So yeah, that's why we're switching gears, I think, and that was another appeal to Kentucky for us this year. So plus the Kentucky's supposed to be a great turkey hunt too, and I'm all in for the turkey hunting right now. So
Yeah, and you got, speaking of that, you got a bunch of calls that you grabbed up. Before we get into the calls, the turkey calls, I would love to hear your owl call against Greg's owl call. I told Greg about this several times. He's not happy about it. I'll do my owl call too.
Honestly, if you're projecting through a call, you got way more volume. You got a barrel to project sound through, and I'm just tiny little bird lips trying to make an owl hoot, and if it's windy out, they're not hearing it. So,
let's hear it, Chris, and then we'll hear Greg's regardless. We don't got to project too far with the microphone.
So, I'll do a natural voice owl hoot. I'm not great at it, so that'll shoot for. I'll do a natural voice versus this. Actually, in my TikToks, that's exactly what I talk about because somebody said, "Well, I've heard you owl hoot, and you're pretty good at owl hoot. You just owl hoot when you're turkey hunting. Why even use the call?" And you said it's that I can get so much louder with this, and I feel like I gobble out of a stub bird that doesn't want to gobble a little bit better with the call. So that's why I lean heavily on the call. So, but just like a natural voice for me, throat dry, we'll get this. Again, that's horrible. To me, that's horrible. My dad's really good at that. But compared to that's
real good.
That's a little bit more drawn out. If I'm trying to locate a bird, it's a lot shorter than that because I don't want to miss a bird gobbling. But just the standard try to get a bird.
Yeah, and they'll crack off at the first high note. So you're right. You can't go through a big long cadence of hooting like an owl. And honestly, I mean, I could probably carry a coyote howler out with me, and that's a real loud call too. So a lot of guys are real good with a crow call. I don't have a decent crow call, so. But the owl, I haven't had a ton of success with an owl unless it's flat, calm, and no wind. So my call isn't nearly as loud as that coming right out of the barrel of a call.
Well, I'll do mine just to show the difference in what practice. We can go ahead and do yours, and I'll do mine to show, I think I can get there eventually if I keep practicing.
Sure.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
That sounded terrible.
That's really good.
See, I can't do it at all in contrast to that. So these are the layers. This is beginner, and then you go all the way up to the call. But I have a question because I don't know shit about this. If I'm a turkey, why the hell am I sounding off if I hear a predator to warn other turkeys? Because doesn't that mean the predator is going to find me? What's the deal with that? Wouldn't they just shut up?
It's a loud sound. Yeah.
It's kind of like jumping out and scaring my wife. If I just jump out, it doesn't matter what noise. If I go or clap my hands, whatever, if she makes that kind of jump. That's kind of it. I think that noise, and it just that's why they call it the shock gobble. It just shocks them in, and it kind of it works that. But I think they get to a certain point later in the season where they've gobbled so much at that kind of stuff that they hear so many crow calls, owl calls, turkey calls through a season that even they get tight to even that. But you hear people talk about, I slammed my car door and that turkey. I actually killed a bird because of my truck door. I got home from a frustrated where it just poured the rain on me. I got home to change clothes, slammed my truck door shut to go in and put some dry clothes on, and a turkey house gobbled and bailed off in the woods, went after him, wound up killing the absolute biggest bird I ever killed because of my truck door. Would never have known that bird was there had I not slammed my truck door. So,
I've had that too. Pull up on a job to go do a rough-in on a house and slam the truck door, and there's two birds gobbling right behind the house. It was ridiculous. But last year, my opening day was on a big lightning storm, And every time it cracked thunder, those birds would gobble. And it continued for about an hour. Every time it would thunder, they would gobble. Lightning would flash, then the crack of thunder, they would gobble again. So they shock gobble.
That's crazy. That's good to know. I mean, if you're not a turkey hunter, and it's not that I'm not a turkey hunter, I just haven't done it. So I guess I'm technically not a turkey hunter, but I have a lot of interest in getting into it here. There's a TikTok video for you, by the way. Go scare the shit out of your wife and then be like, see, shock call. And then you can be like, this is my work.
That's a good idea.
You can break it 2 birds, 1 stone. Like, 2 birds, pun intended.
That may be my owl hooting videos.
Like, Jesus Christ. Oh man, I scare my wife all the time, but I do it like a ninja. I just appear in different rooms in the house and she's like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, what That's always pretty funny.
But that's a good point, and that's kind of the stuff that I'm kind of conveying on TikTok is that why even owl hoot or why crow call? Why? I mean, but I've actually talked to people. I was actually hunting this was on private land in Atlanta, but I honestly think I was hunting besides somebody else across that thought you could call a turkey in with the crow call, because a new hunter, I mean, you just grab some calls and go out in the woods and you make a loud noise call and a bird responds to it. I think, oh, he's responding to that. So literally listen to a guy blow an owl call for 30 to 45 minutes solid, because every time he blew it, the turkey gobbled. The turkey wasn't changing his location. It was just gobbling over and over. But I really think that's calling that bird to him with that crow call. And so that's what I let people know is like, these are just locator. This for me to be able to pinpoint where that bird is, and then I can make a move, get in position, and then start my turkey calls to actually try and bring that bird in. So, but there's a lot of newcomers that don't realize that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. The coolest use of crow calls I ever heard was a guest I had on a while back, but he used turkey calls he used crow calls to bring in crows to cover his sound when he was deer hunting. So he would bring in a flock of crows to cover his sound so he could do a stalk on a deer. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like a sorcerer. I thought it was one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard. Not necessarily ever heard, but it was a really unique approach to something that I never would have considered. So you're right. You're using this call to locate a bird and make your move. Someone else might be using it to give themselves some sound cover to make a move on a whitetail or whatever. It's really quiet and still outside. Just really interesting what you can do with these tools,
And that's it. I went on a hunt this year. It was actually the hunt where I killed my bird deer. I took one this year, but I got invited to the county just south of where I'm at. And 2 new guys, I hooked up with these guys through a contact at work. They said, hey, these guys are kind of new into it. They wanted to know if you would come down and maybe call for them. And they said, you can bring your gun and hunt. And so I went down there. I was talking to those guys. They'd hunted a little bit, and they'd actually both killed birds, but there was a 17-year-old who had only hunted in South Carolina. And he told me after the hunt, when we actually all three, and he said, I never knew that after turkeys the way you go after turkeys. He said, you actually hear them, and then you're kind of methodical about where you want to get a turkey or on the same level as that turkey to try and call him in. And before you begin calling, he doesn't do what you want him to do. He doesn't come straight to you. You're repositioning stuff. He said, when I'm in open fields in South Carolina where that boy usually hunts, he said, we can't do that. He said, we're pretty much stuck in a 200 or 300 acre field. He said, we set our decoys up and set down, and we're limited to the turkeys that come out in that field to be able to see our setup, but we can't make a move if they don't do it, where you can kind of change your position. And so it's just, that's why I like turkey hunting, because the style that I do it, which is called run and gun style, is completely different than how somebody else may do it. But man, it's so exciting either way. I mean, you see the people now, I think they call it reaping, which that gets a lot of bad press from a lot of people. A lot of your hardcore turkey hunters say they're kind of cheating, but it's very interesting to watch. That's those guys that you see with the fan out in front of them with their gun or their bow right behind it, trying to trigger that tom to, that dominance effect to come in strutting and try and come in and, basically run over you before you get shot. But there's just so many different ways that you can go about it. And when you get it done, or how you got to that end, it's so exciting.
Do you know anybody that does any reaping, Greg?
Most of the Chase Nation boys do a lot of reaping.
Yeah. It seems like a really exciting way to do it. I can't imagine some. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had zero success at it, but I'm not good at it either.
You've
so.
tried it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I moved too fast, or maybe the bird was just like, "Yeah, I don't need to get my butt whooped by that," and he just bailed. He wasn't having it.
You got to do your turkey call, not your owl call when you're reaping.
Well, yeah, that might help too.
No, that's interesting. What's I going to say there? Hell, I don't remember. I was going to say something and it just totally fleeted. But what other calls?
One of the most heated conversations I got into on TikTok, on the comments on TikTok, was a friend of mine through TikTok, just a TikTok friend that I've actually talked to a good bit now, DTI Outdoors. He was catching a ton of that because he had talked about reaping, and he had some guys just absolutely beating up. And of course, I couldn't lay off. I got in on the comments, and it was just amazing to me how many people were against that method. And my thing is if it's a legal method to go after a bird, it's your tag bird how you want to hunt it. And like I said, as long as it's a legal method, I mean, I'm all. If it was 100% foolproof where everybody that did it was killing birds, then the wildlife, I'm sure, would step in and say, we can't do this. It's taking too many birds. But it's not that case. Like you guys said, it's not a foolproof method. So it's just and the cool thing after I got looking into it, Native Americans used to hunt turkeys. They would actually, that's how they hunted those. I love it. I myself, but it's a cool method, I think.
Concept is great. That's what I was going to say is the DNR incident reports. We have them here in Wisconsin, and other states have them too, where they're required to report incidents that happen. One of the more common incidents that, and I should go look right now, there's probably some reports from this past weekend, but it was commonly like turkey hunters shooting turkey hunters because they had mistaken each other for turkeys doing reaping, like they were behind a decoy. And
I don't know if it's always that, though. I think a lot of it is if it's a public piece of property or it's a big piece of property where multiple hunters have permission. Guys set up in the woods, we'll say it's a thicker area. Mm-hmm. They set a couple decoys out. They maybe see a little movement, or somebody's just dumb enough to where they hear the calling. They look and go, yep, that looks and sounds like the real deal. I'm going to shoot it. They shoot that direction right past the decoy, and there's hunters there.
No, but there's literally ones where it was like incident report, guy calls in turkey moves in, turns out it was a guy behind
oh gosh.
Yeah, I've read it, man. From the horse's mouth. That's like how it went down. I'm not saying that was common, but it's happened. So it goes back to hunter safety 101, know your target and beyond, like be sure of your target, and what's beyond it. So I don't know, maybe some of the decoys look pretty freaking real. Some of the turkey calls sound pretty real. So I don't know, some of that's really interesting,
What's your favorite?
Called in a trespasser one time.
You called in a what?
Actually, a trespasser one time. I was on my property calling to a bird that was responding to me, and I hear something walking behind me on the ridge, and I ease around and look behind me, and sure enough, I see a guy skylined, and I guess he thought he was going to kill this bird, and it amazed me because he just bails right off the hill, starts walking. I mean, they're obviously going to hear him, but eventually I had to just stand up and start waving my arms like, hey, buddy, that's, and he got to me. He's like, was that you calling? I said, I was doing the hen sound. The bird was gobbling. I said, before you kind of screwed us up here. But, and I said, do you know whose property you're on? Yeah. And got the deer in the headlight looking. So, so had to run him off. But, that's a way to meet new neighbors, new property owners beside you. But yeah, I called him in with a turkey call. So
Nice.
Yeah. You had a question, Greg.
Yeah, I was just asking, what's your favorite style of call to use? Because I've seen some of your videos, and you're like Batman with a utility belt with all the stuff you bring out with you.
Yeah, and I get picked on for that. If I normally carry enough stuff to carry, to outfit 2 or 3 different guys. I'm always, like I said, Murphy's Law kick all the time, so I'm going to have a backup call or 2 or 3 or 4, in my. So I typically, this is the calls that I actually pulled out of my vest. This is my absolute go-tos. I carry 3 mouth calls at least in my vest. Part of that is lose one, but part of that too is if I'm calling to a bird and it doesn't pan out for and I need to make another setup, or you can even spook a bird and still. A lot of times, if something happens though and I don't get that bird, I'll make a big loop, get on the other side of it, and put in a different mouth call and sound completely like a different hen, And so, so that's one reason I carry. I use mouth calls more than anything because I can do those. I'm proficient with it, and I don't have to use my hands, at any, when that bird gets in tight, if I feel like I need to do some more calling, I don't have to use my hands, to where a box call or a slate call require some sort of motion, to use these calls. And so, but with a mouth call, I can stay dead still and call them in with a mouth call. And again, with these calls, first of all, I can make pretty much any noise that a hen with these calls. So I'm not limited. If I feel like I need to do something different, throw something different at that bird to get a response out of him, then I can do that with a mouth call. So, but
Absolutely, I agree with that.
I'll show you guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I missed.
No, I was just going to say I'm agreeing with you about the mouth call. Just way better control of volume. I mean, I can control volume pretty good with a slate, but it's nice to be hands-free. So diaphragm calls, I can, just like you, I can make most any sound I need to make that a hen makes, and I can control that volume down real low. Like I had a hen at my feet the other day and just listened to her, putt and purr at me, and I was able to mimic those calls and just keep her right there. And then I got tired of trying to imitate her, and then she got bored and moved off. But it's pretty cool to be able to do that. And with a slate call, you're moving your hands, and if you're like me and you do more kind of jump in a brush pile and use whatever's around you to cover, you can't be moving around too much. It's not going to work. That's all.
There's little tricks you can do with a slate call and set beside you, but you lose that sound, and still any bit of movement that you make with a turkey, I mean, you're risky, So yeah, that's I'm
Right.
100%.
Yeah, pot calls or slate calls, you set them on the ground, it projects its sound out the back, so and through the striker, but you're muffling that sound. Those are great for like standing up on a high point or even a box call and hitting that. You can get a really nice, loud, crisp call out of those.
And so that's why I did a lot. I mean, a lot of people struggle with a mouth call. A lot of people want to use a mouth call. And just through my experience that I went through trying to fine tune my calling, I learned a lot. I use, actually, these are youth calls. I use a small frame call. And that's something that I had to learn over time, was that, I tried to use the calls that my dad, my uncle, the same style call that they were using. And it didn't matter how much practice I did, I did not get the sound that I wanted. I was good enough to kill turkeys with it, because you don't have to be great at, I think that's one misconception. People think, I have to sound like these competition callers to do good. And you don't. I mean, as long as you can get the cadence of a turkey, you can kill a bird.
Right.
But, I think it does for like pressured birds. The more realistic you can sound, I think that's an advantage for you, because if they've heard a lot of rough sounding calling or whatever, the more you can sound like a real hen in the woods, then I think that is an advantage. So that's why I've tried to perfect everything that I do, I guess. So, but yeah, I went through a struggle to get the right sound. And when I stumbled across a youth call, I put that in and immediately saw an improvement in my call. And so, and that's why I saw TikTok tutorials, before I even got into making turkey sounds. I did a whole series on selecting the correct fitting call for you. I did one about breaking the reeds apart, because if you've not used one of these, you don't realize that these reeds can actually stick together, and you think your call is something's wrong with it, or something's wrong with the way you're using it. And it could be something simple as your reeds are stuck together, and you separate those reeds and you get that sound right back. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff there that goes into, even before you start making a call, that can help somebody that may not have somebody to teach them. And then I got into just absolutely just making noise. It doesn't matter. It's just get sound out of the call, and then develop that from just making sound into turkey noises. And so that's my first, TikTok series, and got such a response from that. It's like that. I don't know. It's just, it's sometimes the comments I get is like, man, I've been trying this so much, and something you said in one of your TikToks, I tried it and it for me. And then beyond that, I've had people say, I've actually killed a bird using what you've talked to me about. And like I said, it's a lot of work to make these TikTok videos. And there's a few times I was like, oh man, it's taking time away from family. But I get that positive feedback so much from people that I'm helping out. And so that's kind of what kept me going there. But yeah, if you guys want to hear it, like I said, I'll give you some kind of
do it.
Just some basics as kind of turkey All right. So let me make sure, first of all, that my reeds aren't stuck together, because, if they are, I'm not going to get the sound. But I'll do a scenario. This isn't something I would do when I'm calling. This is more kind of competition style doing, but I'll do like kind of a scenario of a bird in the tree doing a fly down. Then when it hits the ground, kind of the noises it'll make, and I'll go from soft yelps and get a little bit aggressive with it. So just real quick. So I'll start off with a tree call. Shoot, we'll get even realistic. We'll get the turkey fan out of the vest here. So. It's just kind of a wide range of different turkey noises you might hear in the woods. So,
Yep. Sounds very familiar. You get close.
Hopefully that came through the microphone.
Yeah, it certainly did.
That's awesome, man. Watching you do that, I can tell like you're actually in the zone of being a turkey. You're like, all right, I'm like, you could probably give me some reasonings as to what they're doing. I think where they're just kind of sounding off, saying like, hey, I'm waking up. I'm in roost. I'm trying to make sure everything's good. They're trying to talk to each other before they come. I mean, I've been scared shitless by turkeys coming out of roost, deer hunting.
And that's when hens hens make their most noise. Like they're the most vocal right when they're flying down. And that is a clear cut, perfect example right there. The cluck, the purr, the putt, all the different noises he made. And then once they hit the ground, you might get one that comes out to feed right off the roost, and she gets real mouthy like that, and then they're real quiet. Once you get past that point where they're flown down from the roost, gobblers kind of quiet down. Less is more. At least in my experience, less is more. So it's going to be, you're not doing that whole call sequence the entire morning. And I think you're doing a good job of explaining that to your followers that, hey, this is how you want to do it early in the morning. Sound like a couple of birds coming off the roost. And then as the day progresses, less is more. And people do that with ducks too. I mean, if you've gone out and duck hunted on a public marsh or where there's a lot of people, it literally sounds like a calling competition. And I have never heard a duck in my life ever of hunting make that much noise hollering at other ducks high in the sky. Never, ever. If your decoys are set right, let's be honest. If you're turkey hunting, you're duck hunting, goose hunting, you don't need a lot of calling. If the birds are willing to commit, your decoys are doing a lot of work. You don't need to call. Guys that reap, you don't see them calling. They're using the fan. The fan is what looks the most realistic. I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
And that was one of my most responsive videos, I guess, on TikTok as far as the turkey series goes. I said, I did something like this. I said, you guys all, I said, even if too many people find out about this call, I said, too many birds are killed, they'll have to shut down season. So I said, now listen to this. And I go, and I don't make a noise. I say that, and I said, here, let me play it for you again. And that's what I tell them. I said, silence a lot of times is what kills a bird than impressive calling. What I'm trying to do with a mouth call, or any call for that matter, is pique his interest. Once we're trying to go against nature, in nature, longbeard, he may not roost right with his hens, but he'll call in a tree. He may gobble, and a lot of times that gobbling is just say, hey, I'm here. He flies down, he makes a couple of gobbles, and I'm in the mountains, so it's always on ridges and stuff, but he may be on this ridge and the hen over on another ridge. He gobbles a few times. The next thing you know, you hear the hens come to him. He gobbles a couple of times. He's quiet and he's off with his hens. And, he's henned up for the better part of the morning. So you're trying to go against nature when you're calling a bird and making him respond to you and come to you. So that's what makes makes it so hard. So it's almost trying hard to get with a bird. I'm trying to pique the interest just enough because he's hearing me. He knows where I'm at. And then if I can shut it down and go quiet, then it's like, well, why is she not in me? And I guess the ego kind of kicks in. But a lot of times he'll come looking for you. But I hear so many people on that routine where they call, the bird responds, and they think, oh, that's so let me call again. And they call, and the bird responds, but he's not moving. He's staying in that same area, and you're just really just calling. He gobbles, calling, he gobbles. And eventually he gobbles to the point where he just loses interest, or he gathers hens that actually come to him and they take him off, you know. So to where if you can just shut it down and be quiet, and he's for so long, he's expecting to show up. So, you know, okay, well, I better go look for her. So either that or, you know, call away from you. You can project your sound back behind you. I've actually, on a hung up bird, I've actually got up and like walked 10, 15 yards behind me, call, run back to the tree, sit back down, and then sit there. And the next thing you know, here comes that bird. He thinks that hen's getting out of town. So he's coming to look for her. So just pique the interest and then shut it down if you can. And there's sometimes if a bird is just super, super vocal and he's coming, there's some birds you just can't mess up. I mean, you call to them and they want every little bit you can throw at them. And those birds are really fun to hunt. You can be super aggressive with a calling, but a really smart tom, an old tom, it less is way more.
That's good to go. I mean, that could be good dating advice for some young guys out there. You know, if you start texting her too much, buddy, you're overdoing it. You gotta let them come to you. I mean, there's another. Oh my gosh, that's great. No, this is all super cool information. I haven't heard it explained this way. I've had some podcasts in the past where we talk about turkey calling, but you know, the specific tactics and reasoning you're giving the things, as well as the practice you put into the calls. You're doing competitions. You clearly know what you're doing there. How long did it take you to get proficient at some of this stuff, if you had to put your finger on it?
I started calling probably 10 or 11 years old, so probably 25 years or so. 25 years or so. Seriously, I feel like I just got competition worthy. I had some friends in the area. His name is Mitchell Johnston. I'm wearing his hat, Dead End game call. Cheap plug for him, I guess. But Mitchell, I went to school with him. He was a year ahead of me. He got into calling and got into competitions, and I'd never really looked at competitions that much, but didn't realize what kind of platform there was calling. And he did really well. Started winning competitions locally. Went on and actually NWTF Grand National Calling Championship back in 2010 or 2011. And man, that opened up so many doors for him. He got picked up by Woodhaven Calls. They made his own signature series call with Woodhaven. You saw him in magazines. It got to the point where that he started his own company. I mean, he's doing like I said, kind of turkey calls. Mouth calls is kind of his bread and butter, but he makes box calls, pot calls. He's branched over into duck calls and turkey calls, but it just opened up so many doors. So hearing him is kind of what kept me out of the competition, because he set the bar so high. I'm thinking there's no reason for me to compete if that guy is doing this well. But then I got, like I said, I tried to be as good as I could be to help me in the woods. And so I never really got into the competition. And really until TikTok, I started doing TikTok to help hunters. And then I got such positive feedback on my turkey calling that I thought, you know what, I'm on competition. So I got an invite to do a competition, went to it. I finished in the amateur division. I finished second in the overall, and I finished first in the North Carolina resident. We had some guys out of state that come in and won the whole thing. But that really, kind of opened up my door. But I actually went to Mitchell, and I went to his shop, and actually he worked me through, because competition calling is different than actually what I use in the woods. I believe I get way more aggressive, and you're making a lot of the same sounds. Like create a scene with competition calling, but I don't know. There's calls at them in a competition that I wouldn't necessarily like. He run and stuff like that. Rarely do I ever do that stuff when I'm in the woods. It's mainly yelps, cuts, and clucks and stuff, when I'm in the woods. So, but again, really, I really focused on just this year and last years on getting competition worthy, but doing that has really just took my confidence. Again, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be. I killed turkeys when I was making sound, just not doing anything. And like I said, but when more realistic and just my nature of trying to perfect anything that I'm doing, then I tried to. Mitchell helped me a ton. And when I use these small frame calls, and that's one thing I hear a lot of people is saying, I can't do a call. I've tried and tried and tried. I can't do it. I said, try a small frame call. They put a small frame call in. It's like, wow, I saw a huge difference. I said, well, that was me. And the problem with that is back in the early days when they started making youth calls is they made it in like a V cut or a straight cut. And that's pretty much it. A lot of diversity in the reeds can give you so much different sounds just at the gate, with whatever reed combination you use. First, when we started making calls, that he said, well, man, I have so many more option bulk calls because that's where the mass, people are buying. And he said, I can make you whatever cut. And so he started making youth cuts and stuff like that. And that's really what enabled me to start making really true to life turkey perfect. I mean, I don't have to here with me. I got my vest, but I mean, I've probably got 50 or mouth calls. For competition worthy, I can put in the same reed, same cut, and 1 out of every 10 or so is exactly what I'm looking for. All of them are totally hunting worthy, but competition, I mean, really, it takes a lot to find one that is it's spot on what you're looking for. So.
Sure, the reeds are stretched just a little bit tighter or a little bit looser, and they roll over a little bit different.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I mean, and they're cutting this stuff with some.
that's that delay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Technology, man. Why don't you to bring the plane in for landing? If you can you share your most memorable hunt with us?
Yeah, so I've been sitting here thinking about what kind of story, because you've hunted as long as I have. I mean, I've got so many, different stories from my deer to my biggest buck, my kid's first deer. There's so many memories there. I've had some really cool deer hunts, duck hunts, turkey hunts. But really, last year I had one that it was just special. So kind of lead up to it, and I've got the buck right here beside me, so I'll show you. I'm not used to being able to show my deer horns, so again, not a giant buck for you Midwest guys, but this is 100 pointer. I don't know. Let me get my camera. Everything's reversed here, but 5-inch 7-pointer. This buck, otherwise, doesn't look like all that much, but was a huge body buck on our property. I mean, just an old deer, giant body. The year before last, he's just a big. He was he's always been a 7-pointer, but he was completely nocturnal. Everybody on the property that hunts with me, this is on private land, a lease, family lease, and there's 3 other guys that hunt with me here. We all had this buck on camera at some point last year, but he was completely nocturnal, or the year before last year, nocturnal. Nobody ever laid eyes on this buck. Well, he showed back up again. He was a really homebody deer. He stayed on this property. He ventured very far off of it because we had him so regular. We didn't have a lot of bucks to go after this year for whatever reason. We just didn't have a lot of big bucks. We had a little bout with EHD early on in the year, and I think we lost one of our best bucks to EHD that we all had our hopes on that deer. But this buck, he survived it. But again, we wouldn't get a whole lot of pictures, and then right before our rifles kicked in, the buck just completely disappeared. We'd almost lost all hope. So I told my little boy, I said, let's go. It's opening day rifle season. Let's go out. So we went in the afternoon. I had a little food plot, a little ground blind for him. And I knew it was a good spot for him just to see, a deer, or maybe a little rack buck or something. And so we're sitting in the blind, start coming out, and I looking off the hill, I hear a grunt. And here comes a pretty little basket 6-pointer. And of course, my little boy's nerves just start kicking in. It's really cool to watch him, get that excited about a deer. Deer into the food plot, starts eating down a little bit, and he steps up behind a tree, and the little boy's like, "Yeah, Daddy, I want that deer. I want that deer." And so I said, well, go ahead and, we're trying to calm him down, I get so worked up. I get more worked up over than I do, in that moment, just hoping for him so well. And, but he pulls the trigger and the deer, it runs maybe 10, 15 yards and piles up. So we get out of the blind, and actually I didn't have just my oldest son who was pulling the trigger, but I had my youngest son who's 5 years old sitting in my time. So we're all three in the ground line, and we get out, we're all celebrating, we walk, and we look at this deer, taking pictures with it. And I realized, we still got an hour and a half before the end of shooting, right? And I said, well, you know what, bud? I said, let's put it behind the blind. We'll get back in and just see if anything else comes out. I said, that'll give Daddy a chance to hunt, And about 15 minutes before dark, we can hear a deer walking through the woods. It's a really dry day, and my little boy heard it better hearing than I do. He said, Dad, I hear a deer. And yeah, I hear it too. And I look at the end of our lane in our foot lot, and out steps the 7-pointer that we'd been after for 2 years. And I knew him immediately because just a big, dark-looking body, and just he's got a taller rack than some of the other bucks we had. And I knew immediately it was him. So I grabbed my gun and come up and shoot it really quick. I wasn't even sure if I got him or not. And so really cool. I'm also colorblind. So and especially to red, I'm not completely colorblind, but my little boys are not colorblind, so they can track a deer so much better. So I let them take the lead and track this deer, and just a great experience all around. Me and my little boy double. I got my youngest son with us. My buddy and his daughter were actually on the ridge, so they come over and helped us because he had a 4-wheeler. We were able to take her out at one time. Just something that'll stay with me again. A buck I really wanted to target, and didn't have a whole lot of hopes for it, but just a magical day where we got one, and then the buck that nobody had ever laid eyes on happened to walk out into that food plot that afternoon. So just a really cool hunt all the way around.
Dude, that's awesome. What a cool feeling to have that happen. I mean, Greg and I, we each had you definitely had a target buck. I was kind of like quasi targeting that one, and to see that come to into view in real life, what an awesome feeling. And then to know that your son had tagged out and see him do all that stuff. Hopefully we'll see how my kids do. They're young. They're going to be 4 and going to be 2 and going to be, born this September. Number 3 is on the way. So at some point it'll be really exciting to have them live through some of those experiences. But if they decide to go down that path with me or not, I'm not going to force them, but I have to imagine I would probably be more excited for them than I ever would be for myself, But that's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And thanks for.
I just love my buddies on Facebook.
Oh,
he's the one
is
that
that
give the smiley face. He was after that buck too, so I think a little bit of jealousy. He's kicking there, so he's rolling his eyes on your Facebook feed. Ronald Brandon Absher there, my good hunting buddy that does plan. I put Brandon on every big buck he's ever killed, so he wouldn't do anything without me. So I'm just kidding. You
can get more an eye roll from that one. You might get a middle finger for that. But that's funny.
Yeah, I'll get some comments. So.
That's cool. I'm glad he was able to jump in here.
But thank you guys so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, and sorry for the technical issues and the lag. I don't know. Technology's technology, man. Sometimes we just draw a short straw with some of the tech that we got running here. But we appreciate you taking time to be on the show for us. And we produce the same night. So this will be live in podcast land tonight. I'll see if I can chop some up for you in a vertical format if you want to share some. Maybe I can get some good clips out of here for you. But, thanks so much for being on here. And again, just remind people where they can find you. I know not everyone's on TikTok yet, but there is a surprisingly large number of hunters on TikTok. So if you want to just share your tags, your handles for the different areas you're on, I would highly encourage you, by the way, to take your TikToks and put them in Instagram Reels. Like Instagram just announced in their app update that they're pumping out Reels more and more and more. It's being more widely adopted. So you should get on that train for sure. We could all use your content there.
I'll do it. Sounds good.
So yeah, again, it's let's see. The TikTok handle is Get Outdoors, the number 2, the word day, Get Outdoors today. Your Instagram handle that we're going to see you pumping out Reels on, if I'm not mistaken, right, is Whitley's _whitetail _pursuit. And you have a YouTube channel also. What is that one?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. I've not done. I had such big plans for my YouTube channel this year, and just none of it really panned out. So I'm hoping to get a YouTube. A lot of my YouTube channel is just what I'm right now with TikTok, and I just post the video over there. So I don't really have it up and going just yet. So I to be honest, I can't even tell you what my handle on YouTube is right
No
now.
worries. No worries. But dude, YouTube is launching YouTube Shorts, so it's the same thing. It's a stories thing. It's the same thing. So you could dump your stuff over there too as a cross-pollination way, and you can probably garner some following. And anything new like that, Reels, Shorts, there's a lot of clout behind those social platforms pushing that content. So you'll have a tidal wave if you dump that stuff over there too.
And I'm absolutely wanting to do that because TikTok does limit on how much we can. A lot of people you see on TikTok are showing pictures of deer or turkeys and stuff. The minute that I upload, I just uploaded. This is the spurs off the bird I killed this year. The second that within 5 minutes it was taken off. It was booted TikTok for community violation. So that's the negative part of TikTok. The more clout you start getting on TikTok and the more followers, the more TikTok polices you, and they do not like this kind of content. But yeah, and I've been told and I've been urged to get Instagram and YouTube because they'll let me show some of the stuff like that, the success stories a little bit more. So.
Instagram's got it. They're not the best either with some of that stuff. It depends. YouTube's probably going to have a lot more flexibility, but I will say Go Wild is an app based out of Kentucky, a Kentucky-based startup. It's a social platform. No bars hold when it comes outdoors. You can post all that stuff. You're not going to get policed at all. It's a community meant to help people, so it might be a good place for you to find a nice little home there if you get that other stuff policed. But I digress.
Awesome.
Thanks again for the show. I'm gonna Go Wild. Yeah, that's the one. They got a really cool logo. It's a G and a W. It's all awesome and stuff. Brad Luttrell's the owner over there. He's been on the show. I have another podcast he's been on. They have a great product. It's a really fun platform. Greg's on there. I'm on there. Probably not on there enough because there's too many to be on, but it's a good one. So with that, I'll end the live
feed. Thank you guys again.
I
appreciate just the opportunity to get on here and just.
Yep. Thanks.